Hey guys, it's Omer from MMOs.com doing a quick weekly news recap of all major MMO news, and then after the week ending July 6, 2020. This episode number 252 of the recap, and the first of news this week comes from NeoWiz regarding Bless Unleashed, which announced it's coming to the PC sometime in early 2021 on Steam, and the game's Steam page is actually already live. Now, Bless Unleashed is currently available only on Xbox One, but it's still launched on PC now. I expect though the PC audience aren't going to be too keen to try Bless Unleashed, especially after getting burned so hard on the first Bless Online game. And the positive spin here is that at least Bless Unleashed is free to play, so it won't cost anything to give it a try. I actually played the PC version of Bless Online before it shut down for about 22 hours. I wanted to like it, but it was unplayably laggy, so hopefully the Unreal Engine 4 remake Bless Unleashed addresses these performance issues. But yeah, it is coming to PC now in early 2021 on Steam. And next up, Fantasy XIV patch 5.3 finally has a release date, and that release date is August 11th. Now, this launch comes after a 2.5-month delay, which is unfortunately going to affect the release cycle of all future updates as well. But in the most recent letter from the producer, Yoshida, the game's producer, said that they're returning to their 3.5-month update cycle once 5.3 launches, so 5.4 will launch about 3.5 months after 5.3. Yoshida also confirmed that they're actually working on a new expansion for the game already, which will be one of the topics discussed in the next producer letter, which goes live on July 22nd. But at least they're back to their regular content cycle, so updates should be rolling out more regularly on Final Fantasy XIV. Next up, the South Korean game developer Masangsoft released a video showing off the updated development for RaiderZ. Yes, RaiderZ is still being worked on and will be releasing sometime in the future. Perfect World shut down RaiderZ back in 2015, but it's coming back with some changes to combat and skill system animations and more. Unfortunately, there's really no definitive release date just yet for this remade version of RaiderZ, but it's neat to see them work on the game. I wasn't even aware that RaiderZ had a decent player base, at least one large enough to warrant a rework and relaunch of the game. I remember the Perfect World version wasn't exactly popular, but I guess they are remaking it, and hopefully we'll get a release date soon. Anyway, moving right along, Black Desert Online launched a pretty big update this week, which brought up some big balance changes in both PvE and PvP. There's a few events going on as well, and some item changes, UI changes, and other things, but the big aspect of this update is changes to every class in PvP. Some classes felt the nerfs stick much harder than others, with Tamers getting hit pretty hard. Black Desert Online still remains one of the most popular MMORPGs here in the West, as it averages about 18,000 players online at a given time on Steam alone, which is definitely pretty big. Easily one of the biggest games on Steam for the MMORPG genre. Next up, Blizzard announced that they're planning to connect low population realms to existing realms with larger populations. This process will take place over the next few months, and connected realms will be able to trade with each other, join guilds, and add each other to their friends list. So in a way, it's basically just merging servers, but without actually eliminating any of the servers. So it's server merges without the actual servers being eliminated. It's a much needed change, though, as there are a lot of dead realms on WoW, actually quite a bit. So this should breathe new life into many of them. Next, remember Crucible from Amazon Game Studios. Well, after launching and peaking at 10,600 players in the first week on Steam, the game's player base crashed around 100 or so peak daily a couple of weeks later. In fact, Amazon Game Studios is pulling the game back into closed beta, and it's a pretty unprecedented move, as the game kind of launched the open beta, but now it's back into closed beta. The closed beta is running 24/7, with anyone who downloads the game has free access to it anyway, so it's not exactly a closed beta, but it seems pretty clear that Crucible as is considered quite a failure. Still, the game is getting updates, and there's an anti-AFK feature now, a voice chat, and some other features being added since it re-entered closed beta. I played this one for about 30 minutes or so and I wasn't a fan. I can't imagine this game succeeding after its disastrous launch, but who knows, they haven't given up on the game entirely just yet, so we'll see what happens with Crucible in the coming weeks. But Amazon Game Studios has not been doing well with their game launches. I mean, their first game, Breakaway, total disaster. Crucible, total disaster. We'll see how New World does when it launches. Next, some industry news regarding Leiyu, the Chinese company that owns Warframe's developer Digital Extremes. According to a report on Bloomberg, Sony hired financial advisors to make a bid for the Chinese game company, which is valued at about $1.1 billion today. Besides Warframe, Leiyu also owns Athlon Games, which is working on a new Lord of the Rings MMORPG alongside Amazon Game Studios. They also own Splash Damage, Radiance Games, and a few other studios as well. Honestly, Warframe alone is probably worth at least $500 million, if not more, as Warframe remains easily as one of the most popular free-to-play games here in the West. I think locking up Warframe by Sony would be a great idea, but the problem here is they're competing against two other Chinese companies which are bidding for Leiyu. And keep in mind, Leiyu today is worth $1.1 billion in the stock market, so a buyout bid would be at a higher price than that today. I'm guessing that this will go for at least $1.3 billion. And for Warframe fans, don't worry, the buyout isn't going to change anything, as when Leiyu first bought Digital Extremes in 2016, nothing changed for the players, so hopefully nothing will change when Sony or some other Chinese company ends up buying Warframe in the future. Next up, Fantasy Online 2 is running a month-long Konosuba crossover event. While the events aren't actually considered big news, I tend to like crossover events in MMORPGs, but they aren't super common. You see them sometimes in MapleStory and Final Fantasy XIV, but you rarely see them in other MMOs. In a typical PSO2 fashion, of course, these crossover events feature themed limited scratch tickets, which is one of the interesting ways PSO2 ends up monetizing. Those scratch tickets are pretty crazy, and themed hairstyle, outfits, and more. I'm surprised we don't get more crossover events in other games as well. I really can't think of many other games that do them. And as a fan of Konosuba, and the fact that I'm actually playing PSO2 right now, this is a nice event. Up next, Magic Legends, the free-to-play Magic the Gathering MMORPG revealed its free-to-play monetization systems, and the game will be free-to-play without any paid DLCs, updates, or missions like that. So the core gameplay will all be free-to-play, much like any other free-to-play MMORPG. Though the monetization system is a bit more extreme than other MMORPGs, the cash app will be featuring, besides cosmetics and convenience items, it'll be featuring lockboxes which you can use to actually unlock gear in the game. So gear can be obtained through lockboxes, and besides that you can actually unlock classes through lockboxes as well, along with spell shards, unique artifacts, spells, and other goodies. So the classes you unlock through the lockboxes are supposedly not pay to win because there won't be any stronger than existing free-to-play classes, just apparently slightly different playstyles. But this might be the first time I've heard of a class being unlocked through a lockbox. And much like other Cryptic Studios titles, there will be an exchange system in-game to trade in-game currency to the cash app currency, and you've seen this with Diamonds and Neverwinter and some of the other Cryptic games as well. So you can actually trade in-game currency for premium currency through a player-run exchange at an exchange rate set by players. But the cash app with the class is definitely a little bit wonky. Next up, a new open-world survival crafting game from Japanese developer Pocket Pair called Craftopia will be starting its closed alpha test later this month on July 27th, and a few days later it'll be launching into open, rather early access. I don't think I've ever heard of a Japanese developed survival game before, so this could be interesting. The game features building, farming, breeding, dungeons, survival mechanics, and actual combat as well. This was set to release into early access in June on Steam, but is now aiming for a closed alpha at the end of July because of the coronavirus delays that slow things down. Graphically, it doesn't look bad, plus it's Japanese developed, so it's going to be a little bit different, and it'll be buy to play at launch. Next and last bit of news this week is a reveal trailer for Trickster Mobile, which was announced this last week. It's a mobile version of Trickster Online, which is an older free-to-play MMORPG that shut down now years ago. But the Trickster franchise isn't dead, it's coming back with this mobile launch. I actually like the way the game's graphics look, as it kind of looks a lot like the same art style as the PC MMORPG. Unfortunately though, the game is announced just for the Korean market right now, and there's no release date for it yet either, so even if it does come to the Western market, it could still be a year or so away, but again, we have to wait to find out. Anyway guys, that's it for MMO News this week. I'll see you guys next time. Later guys.